we joined Freddie Coleman, host of Freddie and Fitz, as he does every Friday. Freddie, no Roger today, so you're hanging out with Zach By and Chris Honorato. How you doing this today?
I'm doing well, gentlemen, and you guys are having fun early, so that's a good thing. You know, we can get this party started really good now.
I love it.
Let's go. We got Freddie Coleman on the line from ESPN, Freddie and Fitz on ESPN Radio. And Freddie, let's get right into this here. We always talk NFL, but off the top, let's go away from the games. Richard Sherman fined $9,000. It was actually like $9,153, like almost like a tip calculator. Punched that thing out for his hit on Dan Carpenter this past Monday. What did you make of that whole scenario, and what were your takeaways after him being fined and the officials not being punished?
Well, the whole thing could have been avoided had the officials not only blown the whistle, but also stepped in the middle of that. And I get it. The flavor of the game, the speed of the game, with the crowd that can be one of the best crowds in the National Football League. I understand it was hard to hear, and believe me, the kicker, he looked like a soccer player. You know, soccer players, they get tackled, and all of a sudden they get back up and pop right back up to being tackled. That's what Carpenter looked like. But I think it sent a bad message that the officials who made a lot of mistakes in that game, they were not fined at all. They're going to be reprimanded. But yet Richard Sherman got fined because he made contact with the field goal kicker, and never mind the fact that he popped up. So I think the NFL felt, okay, this is a play that could have been avoided. We're going to punish the players because that's what they do, and they're judge and jury when it comes to that. But yet the officials who have not had a good run of it in the National Football League, it seems once again they're getting off with basically a warning or a hand slap, and I just think that's a bad message that's being sent by the NFL.
Freddie, before you came on, Chris and I were talking about fundamentally how we're looking at Thursday night games. Chris said he didn't watch a second of the game last night. I only watched in totality about a quarter. How much of that game did you watch, and where are you at with Thursday night football?
Well, I watched the whole game mainly because sometimes you just enjoy seeing carnage, and that's what the Cleveland Browns have been this season. I mean, I thought last night that if they had lost to the Baltimore Ravens, I could see this team being the second 0-16 team since Detroit did it back in 2008. So I think I watched it from that standpoint to see exactly what was going to happen and what could be what could portend when it comes to the future. But I'm a big believer, and I've said this for the longest time. Thursday night football should be only on two nights: the opening night of the season to kick off the NFL season, and Thanksgiving Day. What happened to making Sundays special again? I think Thursday night football and people seeing that as the only game on it that night and not getting good football, and the quality of NFL play this year has definitely been down compared to recent years. But Thursday night football is not helping, even if it's on the NFL Network, because for a lot of people, they either see the matchup and say, okay, I'm good, or the matchup happens, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, my God, this is just bad football, and that could affect the way they think about things when it comes to watching football on Sunday and Monday. So that's always been my stance. I don't want an 18-game regular season. I think that's bad for the league. But I also think that football on Thursday should be limited to 2 days, the opening Thursday of the season and Thanksgiving Day, and just leave it on Sunday and Monday, because that was not broken as far as I'm concerned in the NFL.
I like that idea. 2 nights. Freddie, what's up, man? It's Chris Honorato. Good to talk to you.
Absolutely.
Is there any chance... You're tapped in here. I mean, is there any chance the NFL would walk this thing backwards at any point? Would they say, hey, we experimented with Thursday night, it's just not really working for us? I mean, they would make it about them, you know, hey, this is better for us, as opposed to the ratings are down or the play is not as good. Do you ever see the NFL walking back on something like this?
No, and here's why. It comes down to money, Chris, and the advertising continues to still be there with the National Football League. So the ratings may be down, but the money still goes up in the National Football League when it comes to revenue, when it comes to attendance, and plenty of other instances that have happened that have made the league where it is. So we can moan and groan about the quality of play, whether it's Thursday night or Sunday afternoon or Sunday night or Monday night. But those advertisers still throwing the money at the National Football League, so they still believe, and I don't blame them for feeling this way, that they're doing from a position of strength. The question is, with the National Football League, at a certain point, if we see erosion in ratings, then how much of that could affect advertisers who may go to them and say, hey, I'm paying all this money, and those eyeballs aren't there for your product. Those eyeballs aren't there on major television or the NFL Network. Then we'll see exactly how that conversation, how that narrative is going to change. But for right now, why would you walk back from something that continues to make you a lot of money, not just here domestically, but overseas? season if you're the NFL.
Freddie, Todd Bowles yesterday really doubled down with Fitz, kind of dug his heels in, said Fitz is the guy.
Not Freddie's Fitz, right?
What's that? No, right, exactly. Thank you for clearing that up. He dug his heels a little bit and says, hey, Fitzpatrick is our guy. We don't have a quarterback controversy. I think we can agree the Jets are out of contention. If you were the coach of the New York Jets, do you try to win the day and start Fitz because that's your best chance to win, or do you try to see what you have in a Bryce Petty or a Hackenberg?
Well, at this point, I think at times Ian Fitzsimmons would be a better quarterback than Ryan Fitzpatrick of the New York Jets, but that's another story, number one. Number two, and you make a fair point in terms of, I know that he does not want to give it away that he believes the season is lost. And if you go to Bryce Petty, that's going to send a message to your team that we can't win this season. All coaches believe they can go on that 7-game winning streak and get into the playoffs and finish 10-6. Every coach believes that the season is not lost, even though we've seen plenty of parameters and plenty of instances that can lead us down that road. A coach is never going to convey that to anybody else, especially his team. That being said, at a certain point, you have to find out what you have in Bryce Petty. Or if you don't believe that Bryce Petty is your guy and you believe that Christian Hackenberg is your guy, then this season is lost. You're just going to throw Ryan Fitzpatrick out there, and that's going to be it. But if I'm the coach of the New York Jets, if it gets to a point where you're 3-9, you can't continue to sell that to your team that everything's okay, because even your team knows the truth. You have to find out if Bryce Petty can play or he can't play. You got to give him a chance to see what he can do to put on his resume, whatever that's going to be put on there. And if you believe he's not the guy for your future, then you go find a quarterback in the draft next year once again, or you go after somebody in free agency and hope that that guy is going to be better than what you have right now. But we know that Ryan Fitzpatrick is not the future. But because the Jets are living in the present and they still believe they have a chance to get a wild card, they believe that Ryan Fitzpatrick is the best chance for them to do that at quarterback. So I understand where he's coming from. But if this continues down this road, I don't have any reason to believe that this is going to turn around for the Jets. You got to find a way to get Bryce Petty in there to see exactly what he can do, because you don't know until you see what a guy can do on the field.
Hey, Freddie, the Cowboys are back on the road this week. They're at Pittsburgh. Jerry Jones, we know, loves him some Tony Romo. Is there part of Jerry Jones that he wouldn't admit in public, but might want to see Dak Prescott struggle in this spot, so then next week maybe open it up for Romo, because that's never been Jerry's never eliminated that from happening, that Romo could come back and still take over what is a 7-1 Cowboys team?
I don't think so, in terms of wanting to have a loss or your quarterback struggling and then you might lose a game. I don't think Jerry Jones has that kind of mindset, because he knows this. This organization has not won a Super Bowl championship since 1996. They only had one playoff win in that time since winning the Super Bowl championship. So looking for a loss to get your guy back in there, that's a very sadistic way of thinking. I don't care who you are, whether it's Jerry Jones or anybody else. But I will say this. Jerry Jones is playing this right. He's doing the same thing the way that Brian Williams used to slow jam the news with Jimmy Fallon. He's taking his time, letting things factor in, because he knows he's in a great situation. Whenever Romo is ready, now he's got two of something he did not have last year, meaning two quarterbacks that if one struggles, he's got a capable backup. If he brings Tony Romo back in there and he's ready to go and Dak Prescott is struggling a little bit, he knows that if Romo's not right early, then Dak Prescott can get back in there. To me, he's playing this perfectly, because he's letting people know and putting it out there, because how much are we still talking about the Cowboys at 7-1 outside of the team on the field? Jerry Jones knows a lot of things. He knows how to make money, but he knows how to make sure that showmanship is next to his team. The Cowboys right now in that quarterback situation, that's the story in the National Football League, and plenty of people, whether they're Cowboys fans or not, are paying attention to that. So by Jerry Jones slow jamming the news and putting out here, a little bit there with Romo, okay, he's not going to play this week, but hey, Dak Prescott's playing really well. He's playing this exactly perfect, and then the Cowboys go out there and win football games to back up what he's doing right now.
Freddie Coleman joining us on Big Board Sports every Friday here at 10:30. Of course, the host of Freddie and Fitz on ESPN Radio, which you can hear right here on 104.5 The Team each weeknight. Freddie, this past weekend, I thought it was the best win of the season for the New York Giants. It was their third in a row, and it was a terrific football game. Came down to the last series. How do you view the Giants right now? Are they a legitimate contender? Does their lack of rushing attack take them away from a top-tier team? Where do you come out on the New York Giants?
Well, in the wide open NFC, even though Dallas is 2 games clear of them, anybody is legitimate because each and every team in the NFL, whether they're a Super Bowl contender, especially if they're a Super Bowl contender or have those kind of aspirations, they have that one flaw that can keep them from making a deep run. For example, the Raiders and their defense, their lack of, they're giving up a lot of points. That's a flaw. The Broncos not being healthy and Trevor Siemian, the quarterback, those are 2 flaws. Dallas' flaw to me is that how long can this defense continue to be a bend and not break defense? That's a flaw that could keep them from having a great run. So the Giants are in the same situation as plenty of other teams that are competing to get into the playoffs, and that flaw is that rushing is not there to be that 2-fisted attack for that offense. That being said, I think not just the fact that they won a division game against Philadelphia, it was the way that they won, where Philadelphia made mistakes. They were making that run. They have a chance to take over this game and win the game late and steal one from the Giants, and it didn't happen because their defense stepped up, and their secondary has been really good all season long. So whatever flaw that they have that could be a discernible flaw to keep them from running through in the playoffs, they're in the same situation as everybody else. And I think in the NFC East, even though they're 2 games back at Dallas, there's still a lot of football to be played because all of a sudden you go on a winning streak, Cowboys come back a little bit, then that game in December between those 2 really becomes important because that could decide the division. By no means are the Giants not a threat in the NFC, and by no means are they out of the race in the NFC East, even though they're 2 back at Dallas.
All right, one more, Freddie, before we let you go. If you could only watch one game this weekend, you got a 3-hour window, your wife is putting you to work for the rest of the day, are you going to watch KC and Carolina, Seattle, New England, Dallas, Pittsburgh, or Denver, New Orleans?
Oh, I'm watching Seattle, New England because that elite defense, Seattle, the top-ranked, one of the top-ranked defenses in the National Football League, and the Patriots with their offense on the other side. I think only the Atlanta Falcons offense is better than the Patriots offense. You're going to have a lot of fussing and cussing back and forth between both of these teams, especially when you got these personalities on the field and Richard Sherman and Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady and Russell Wilson. You got Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick as coaches. It's going to be a Sunday night game in New England with both of these teams. I think that's going to be the best game and the most fun game of the weekend because I want to see who wins out. I want to see if Seattle's defense can slow down or stop New England. I want to see if New England's defense can slow down Jimmy Graham, who seems to be back to that level that we saw a couple of years ago, being an elite tight end of the National Football League. Pittsburgh and Dallas is going to be terrific, but that's the game I got my eye on. I think that's going to be the best game of the weekend, a Sunday night game, Seattle on one side, New England on the other side, and no election coverage getting in the way of our football on Sunday night.
His name is Freddie Coleman. He's a co-host of Freddie and Fitz on ESPN Radio. You can hear it weeknights right here on 104.5 The Team. Made a stop in the Capital Region at one point. The 518 loves you, Freddie. Appreciate you coming by and making some time.
And I always love my people in the 518. You guys have a great show and a great rest of the weekend.
Thanks, Freddie.
Thanks, Freddie. That is Freddie Coleman, of course, checking in every single Friday.